Hmm.
So if there was ever any evidence of the trees being petrified and cut down, this is probably it. This place right here I hunted down. It's called Momo's Wing, and it's in Nevada. For a long time, the location was kept hidden, but it's in the southwest with lots of other petrified looking old palaces, giants, or beings. Like all my videos, we're going to talk about lots of other things. If there was ever anything that looked like a giant axe still resting on top of a giant tree stump that was cut down, this surely is it. There's lots of places that look like giant petrified tree stumps. We know petrification is a process from cataclysmic events that can happen instantly. Places like Devil's Tower and places all over the world. Also, side note, lots of places around the world have the ominous Devil's title or other similar title, and they all seem to be connected with supernatural events or magnetic anomalies. Also, lots of land masses such as Hawaii that look like they could be giant beings, which they explored in the Moana movie, or just mountains in general that look like they could be old giants, like some of the pictures you see here. So a question one might naturally have is, why were the trees cut down? One theory explores the idea that angels were told to cut the trees down so that the giants would not climb the trees during the flood, although I'm not sure about that one. Could the reason the trees have been cut down tie into why there's no longer bells and the tons and tons of bells that were cracked, destroyed, removed, and no longer exist to clear the atmosphere? Are we looking at a scenario like that with the trees, the giant oxygenating, life-expanding friends of humanity? It's all a big mystery, but that's what we're here to explore. Speaking of mysteries, on a U.S. mystery conspiracy road trip that you'll be seeing coming soon, one of the places I explored was Mount Rushmore, and I found an even more interesting mystery than the reason I was there. If you explore these pictures, it looks actually like Mount Rushmore is a giant herd of clustered petrified mammoths. Check it out. Are there any other evidence or mammoths or giant elephants petrified around the realm? Let's take a look. There's one, for example. Also, there's a documentary about uncovering a titan where they go deep into the science of possibly a giant elephant. Clues, reminders, and messages from the past. What do they mean for us still here today? I think one of them is the Dead Sea, which is probably where Sodom and Gomorrah happened, which we've explored recently and talked about how that reset pattern results in instant petrification or beings turning into pillars or mountains or salt. Also, the Dead Sea is the lowest place on Earth, so in connection with portals to the underworlds, when you're floating in the Dead Sea or at the Dead Sea, you're actually closest to the underworld than any other place on Earth. And the reason why the Dead Sea is like that chemically has to do with the sulfuric meteor rain down and things you read about in the Sodom and Gomorrah story, the reset pattern, that also results in the petrification we're talking about. Which also, if you explore places like the Grand Canyon or the Southwest, it looks like they're a bunch of just petrified palaces. Speaking of petrified palaces, we'll close with a really fascinating mystery. The place known as Petra in the Middle East, with literally Petra as the prefix for petrified. Petra meaning the rock, which was also why Peter was named Peter and they called him the rock. But anyway, Petra ties in with Judgment Day. If you didn't know, there's passages where Jesus, on his return making his way back into the Mount of Olives, it says he'll be in a battle at Idumea and at Bozrah. You can check it out in Isaiah and other Old Testament passages that tie into Judgment Day and the return. It says he fights a battle at Bozrah, where he alone treads the winepress, and his garment is pretty much stained with blood from the battle that he fought alone. It also says where you see here where the palaces of Bozrah will be petrified pretty much, or burnt to a crisp. Where is Bozrah, you might ask? Let's check it out on a map. If you look at Bozrah, seems to be Petra. Speaking of petrified palaces or burnt palaces, that's probably what Petra is. Also in Jordan, the place Bosarea, which is really close to Petra, is just a bunch of rubble. So if Petra does tie in with this prophecy of Bozrah, which it seems like it does, that invokes a whole new mystery about the millennial reign. Where are we really living? By the way, the post-millennial reign theory is not the preterist view. Are we in Satan's little season? We'll be exploring that coming up. In the meantime, ponder what all these messages from the past are really saying. See you next time for more mysteries on The Savage Truth.
Oh, what people of that? Please leave your thoughts on that, man. Huh?
We viewed the autopsy film, and then the colonel said, what we've got in here is we're interviewing a gray alien, mathematical code for reversing gravity in a 3x5 card. I guess there are different types of grays and so on. And these garage door openings, they had like different saucer crafts. The very first one had Roswell craft in. It was kind of crashed up, but apparently every alien that was in it died except for a couple. The Roswell craft was really strange because it looked like real heavy aluminum foil, like a river's gravitational thing of some kind.
Ah, oh my god. That's creepy.
Sabe, gente, o que tá acontecendo aqui agora? Eu fui chamar a atenção dele. Não grita comigo, não. Não grita comigo, não. Sabe por quê, gente? Olha o que ele fez, ó. Olha, olha. Não foi eu. Foi você. Foi você. Foi. Foi você. Foi você, sim. Não adianta. Gente, e agora? Como é que carrega celular? Não grita comigo. Não grita comigo. Olha, cara. Ô, bicudo. Escuta só. Eu não vou falar mais. Cuida. Ele não assume isso. Olha, bicudo. Eu não sei mais o que fazer. Porque o bicudo... Não foi eu, foi. Claro que foi. Ó. Aí ele toma banho, aí ele se revolta. Por que você fez isso? Gente, haja carregador. Eu aguento.
Oh man, this part was really amazing me. You see, and I can't understand how they work. I've never seen one. And in my whole life, I couldn't think birds can talk. You see, I used to hear stories like that, and they thought those were stories just like the ones for August. But I'm surprised seeing like that one can talk like that. It's incredible, man. These animals are full of good vibes, man. You see, and they're just lovely and incredible. When you give them love and good vibes, they usually remember. You see, and they are very happy when they are given love. You see, and they always give that back. You see, this is incredible and interesting. See, there this dog is happy because it has been reunited with its owner. Oh, man, this is fun, man. Dog reunites with the military owner after 1 year apart. Wow, this is incredible. You see, this dog didn't forget their owner even after 1 year. You see, this is nice. We've been seeing videos here in different episodes of some dogs that had even been separated from their owner for more than 9 years. And when they reunite, they still remember them. You see, because of that good vibes and love that they shared to that dog. You see, and the animals around us. That's why we are saying you should always be loving to one another. You see, love your neighbors, you love yourself. Have the environment as you love yourself. The trees, the animals, everything. Good vibes, man. Wow! Look at this. What type of animal is that? Is that a dog, a jaguar, an exaggerated panda? What?
Martin, what are factorials?
Factorials themselves are fairly easy to understand. How they're used usually isn't. A factorial is a number which is then multiplied by all the smaller numbers below it. So 3 factorial is just 3 times 2 times 1. 10 factorial is 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. These numbers grow very large very quickly. So 3 factorial, and the way it's written is 3 with an exclamation mark after it. So 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1, which is 6. 10 factorial, which I've already said, I'm not going to say it again, but 10 times 9 times 8 and so on, is over 3 million. It's 3,628,800 to be precise. So factorials grow very quickly in terms of their size. Now, a simple example, say you've got 3 people who have been nominated to receive a prize. So there's first prize, second prize, and third prize. How many ways are there of organising those people for the prizes? Well, there's only 6. So for the first prize, you could pick any one of the 3 people. For the second prize, well, you've already picked one person, so you're left with 2. And then the last one, there's 1 way. So there's 6 ways to distribute the prizes among those 3 people. Now, factorials are used very heavily in probability theory, and probability theory is horribly difficult. It's very unintuitive. And people who study probability theory probably have a self-loathing or something, because it's like torture, learning probability theory. But anyway, I've got a few examples. So permutations are when the order of arranging things is important. So that example I gave, ordering the first, second and third prize, the order is important. So you could take a word, and the example I've got is dog, and you could say, well, how many ways can you organise the letters in the word dog? Well, there's only D, O and G. So for the first letter, it could be D, O or G. For the second letter, it could be whatever's left, the 2 letters that are left. And the last one is, well, you don't have any choice anymore, you're left with 1 letter. So the permutations of those 3 letters is 3 factorial, is 3 times 2 times 1. So you've got DOG, ODG, OGD, GOD, GDO, and DGO. If there's any more, well done, because there shouldn't be. It's quite possible I've done it wrong anyway, but there are only 6 combinations of those 3 letters. Now, when you take a word that's longer, so binoculars, for example, there are 10 letters in that word. They're all different, and that's important. So for the first letter, let's say you've got all the letters spread out in front of you. For the first letter, you could pick any one of those 10 letters. Once you've picked that one, then you're left with 9 letters. So there's 9 letters for picking the second letter in your permutation. And then you're left with 8, and then you're left with 7 and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3, down to 1. So the numbers of ways you can, or number of permutations of the letters in the word binoculars is 10 factorial. Remember, the number of permutations of any combination of things is always the factorial of that number of things. So for binoculars, then it's the number I've already given, 10 factorial, because there are 10 letters. And it's 3,628,800 permutations. And don't sit down and try and do it. You'll be here in 5 years' time, still doing it. And that's all neat and dandy. This is permutations. I'll probably do a video on permutations at some point, although they're difficult. It's all difficult in probability theory. But I'll just finish by, well, there's 2 things I want to say actually. The word pool, for example, and you could say to yourself, oh, well, there are 4 letters. So that's 4 factorial, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, but actually it isn't, because there are 2 letters that are the same. And so the way you work that out is it's 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial. I'm not going to go into the details on it. All I can tell you, and that is 12. There's 12 combinations of letters in pool. If you get a word like Mississippi, then you've got lots of repeating letters, and so it becomes more difficult. Although, if you know how to do it, it's not all that difficult. So anyway, factorials are used in, well, there's something called Stirling's, well, I'm going to talk about that. Anyway, in statistical mechanics, there are approximations to factorials because they get so big. And yeah, I'll be doing more on probability theory, the simple stuff. You know, I'm not going to go into, well, what, I don't know, Bayesian networks or something. It's just, you know, nobody's going to use that apart from some people that are working in large banks and trying to find out what moves stock prices. Anyway, I'm thinking of starting because a few people have asked, I'm thinking of starting a Patreon channel that will have free stuff on it. You know, you don't have to pay, but there'll be some paid for stuff as well. You know, maybe $2 or $5 a month or something like that. If you're interested in that, let me know, because I'm not going to do it unless people are interested. I already have another Patreon channel which consumes a lot of my time. It's more on philosophy. So yeah, let me know. And just one thing, people say, oh, Martin's a genius, blah, blah, blah. I'm not. It's just that I'm old and I've done a lot of things. So in my business life, I needed to know about probability theory and information theory and game theory and, you know, a fair amount of mathematics and things like machine learning and so on, because that was my business. And I used to speak to literally hundreds of people in conferences about it. So I spent most of my life learning all this stuff. That's why I know about it. But I'm a very slow learner in actual fact. And in no way am I a genius. I've just had to do this stuff to earn a living.
Oh man, see, there's some good vibes human there sharing very interesting information. Look at this. Ha! Oh my god, that was a UFO that just transformed from a plane into a
Most of the people that still think we live on a globe have no idea how satanic the globe actually is. If you research the speed of the Earth, it's 66,600 miles per hour, 666. The equation for the curvature of the Earth is 0.66 feet per mile squared. The Arctic Circle latitude, 66.6 degrees north. The Antarctic Circle latitude, 66.6 degrees south. The tilt of the Earth's axis is 66.6 degrees. Here is wisdom, let him hath understanding count the number of the beast, right, or the number of the devil, Satan. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 636, or 666. Right, and they have to put this stuff right in your face when they put these lies out. Because God told us in the book of Luke 12 verses 3, whatever is spoken in darkness, they must proclaim it upon the housetops, right? So they have many ways of putting this stuff right in your face and letting you know that it's a satanic deception. Right? The deception is to take you away from God's true creation. They don't want you to know God sits above the firmament enthroned. They want you to think you're just some small speck flying through this vast galaxy, which is not true. Right? The Bible says, don't be ignorant of Satan's devices, right? Or else what? Or else he gets an advantage over us. Right? We can prove this to be wrong in about 3 seconds when we understand that God told us the world is stable and that it cannot be moved. He says it many times, the Lord reigneth, he is clothed with majesty, the Lord is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself, the world also established, that it cannot be moved. So look at that, the majesty and the strength of God is literally associated with the earth being immovable. Here it is again, Psalm 104, God's marvelous creation, who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be removed forever. So, all this hidden information, we've gone ahead and compiled it into the True Earth book. Highly recommend you guys go download that. Check the profile. When you download the book, you get access to the private Discord community. And there's a lot of big things coming to that community, so highly recommend. God bless you guys. Don't forget to like and follow, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh man, oh, good vibes till the end.
Is there any link between the UFO phenomenon and cattle mutilations, do you believe?
I've talked to people that have investigated that, and credible people, and I've seen the photographs, and I know they've tested the blood, and it's really undeniable that there's something going on there.
And the cuts are often surgically precise. It's
Yes.
excising specific organs inside the body, often with no discernible external wounds.
Yeah, it's not as though they were just, shot and have a bullet wound or something. They're lying on the ground. There's been some surgical cuts, and it's usually the same cuts over and over again. and often the blood is drained, and it's bizarre. It's really bizarre.
Russian or Chinese or any other potential adversaries. Does that mean they're alien?
I think that we have to entertain that possibility.
Now, you realise that is just mind-blowing in its immensity. The implications of that are extraordinary. We're talking about the possibility of alien life visiting this planet.
Oh, this thing about aliens is always creepy, man.
Yo, check this out, y'all. These are in the mountains of Kyrgyzstan, y'all. Let's get this shit. Peace.
What do you think is that, man? Huh?
A man in Wales couldn't figure out why he kept waking up to a tidied up shed after leaving things out on his workbench, so he set up a camera and found that this tiny mouse cleaner was coming each night to keep things organized. And believe it or not, this isn't even the first time that he's personally crossed paths with an organized mouse. Rodney Holbrook says that he'd been noticing something strange happening in his shed for the past 2 months or so. Every time he left something out on his workbench, he'd find it placed inside a nearby box in the morning. And it didn't matter what the objects were. Clothespins, cups, corks, screws, you name it, would all end up in the box if they were left out overnight. So Rodney set out a camera and identified the mysterious housekeeper as this mouse, who he appropriately named Welsh Tidy Mouse. He says that Welsh Tidy Mouse seems to be using the box to store peanuts that he finds by the bird feeders, and then he covers them up with the objects to keep them hidden. But whatever his motivation is, Rodney is happy with the situation, as he enjoys not having to tidy up quite so much anymore, since his mouse friend rarely misses a night of cleanup. And as unusual as Welsh Tidy Mouse may seem, just a few years ago, Rodney actually helped his friend Steve set up a camera in his shed under the same circumstances, and the two caught yet another mouse cleaner on camera tidying up his shed. Perhaps a relative of Welsh Tidy Mouse. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
Oh man, that must be real life Jerry. Oh, that one.
A lot of people would have you believe the Earth is round. Well, we'll see. What is the flat Earth theory? Well, the flat Earth theory posits...
Let me stop you right there. The flat Earth is not a theory, and doesn't posit anything besides demonstrable, empirical, objective facts. For example, it is a fact, not a theory, that bodies of water always seek and find their own level, from a beaker, a bottle, or a bathtub, to a pond, lake, or an ocean. The natural physics of water and other liquids is to find and remain level. It is an unproven, unscientific theory with no observable, measurable, or repeatable evidence to claim that bodies of water can somehow bend, cling to the exterior of shapes, and show convexity upon their surface. It is a fact that the majority of Earth is covered in such level water, thus making it an unscientific theory to postulate that Earth is actually a gigantic sphere with bendy oceans curving all the way around it. It is a fact, not a theory, that the horizon always appears perfectly flat, 360 degrees around the observer, regardless of altitude. All amateur balloon, rocket, plane, and drone footage show a completely flat horizon as high as we can reach, over 20 miles, or 120,000 feet up. The only time the horizon ever bends is when viewed through a fisheye lens, or a curved commercial airplane window. It is also a fact that the horizon always rises to the eye level of the observer as altitude is gained, so you never have to look down to see it. If the Earth were in fact a globe, no matter how large, as you ascended, the horizon would stay fixed, and the observer would have to tilt looking down further and further to see it. It is a fact, not a theory, that we are able to observe objects at incredibly long distances, far beyond what would be possible if Earth were a globe 25,000 miles in circumference, as we're told. For example, it is a fact that in Genoa, Italy, from just above sea level, on clear days, it is possible to see the distant islands of Elba, Gorgona, Caprea, and Corsica 80 to 125 miles away. It is a necessary theory that the globe Earth must curve 8 inches per mile squared if it really be a ball 25,000 miles in circumference. But based on such a theory, these islands would all be completely hidden behind thousands of feet of curved Earth. In fact, the record-breaking longest-distance zoom photograph ever taken recently showed Pic Gaspard from Pic de Finestrelles a whopping 275 miles away, at a height of under 10,000 feet, where, based on correct curvature calculations, the entire mountain should be invisible behind several miles of curved Earth. It is an observable, testable, repeatable scientific fact of reality that Polaris, the North Pole star, situated perfectly over the North Pole center of Earth, never moves a single inch, night after night, year after year, century after century, with all the other fixed stars remaining fixed in their relative constellations, revolving perfect circles around Polaris. It is an unobservable, unproven, unscientific theory to claim that thousands of years ago Polaris mysteriously did move, and Thuban or other stars became the center of rotation. It is also an unobservable, unscientific theory to claim that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour around an axis, while rotating tens of thousands of miles per hour around the Sun, while the entire solar system circles hundreds of thousands of miles per hour around the Milky Way, and the Milky Way shoots millions of miles per hour more off through infinite space, when we cannot see, hear, feel, or otherwise observe or prove any such motion. And we can see clearly for ourselves Polaris never moving and all the other stars revolving around it. Not only that, but such circular star trails around an unmoving pole star prove that it is the stars themselves moving and not the Earth. If the Earth were truly a tilting, wobbling, spinning space ball undergoing these multiple contradictory motions through the universe, you would only see irregular spiral-shaped star trails, and the night sky would never be the same twice. It would be impossible for constellations to exist whatsoever if Earth were truly undergoing these various theoretical motions. And those are just a few of the countless, observable, testable, repeatable, scientific facts of our level, motionless plain Earth that have been marginalized, suppressed, and ridiculed for centuries in favor of various unobservable, untestable, unscientific theories purporting we live on a tilting, wobbling, spinning ball.
The Earth is not a globe, as you have come to know it, but is in fact a flat disc-like shape. It's kind of a lot like this. Yeah. It suggests that the Earth's land masses lie flat. And to better understand this, let's go all the way back to the Bedford level experiment with Samuel Burley Robotham. So let's go to the chalkboard in the Bedford level experiment. Sir Samuel Burley Robotham, don't know if that's how it's pronounced, kicked off this whole flat Earth thing with the Bedford level experiment.
Samuel Robotham was a prominent and vocal flat Earth proponent in the 19th century, but he certainly didn't kick off this whole flat Earth thing. From the beginning of recorded history, and for thousands upon thousands of years, cultures across the entire world all believed the Earth was flat. The cosmology of literally every pre-Copernican culture, besides a few ancient Greek philosophers, described a stationary plane Earth, and not a spinning ball.
What he did is he started on a long river, and he stood here, this is him, with a telescope, and he had his friend in a boat ride a number of miles down the river. So this was what he was suggesting. Because of the curve of the globe, he shouldn't be able to see his friend after about 6 miles. The top of the sail should have been about 11 feet under his view, but he saw his friend go like more than 6 miles. The whole time he saw the whole boat and the whole thing just like this. That led him to thinking that Earth is not a globe.
Samuel Robotham was already well aware that Earth was flat and motionless. His Bedford-level experiments, there were many actually, were designed to demonstrate this fact. He conducted several experiments using telescopes, spirit levels, and theodolites, special precision instruments used for measuring angles in horizontal and vertical planes. By positioning them at equal heights, aimed at each other successively, he proved over and over the Earth to be perfectly flat for miles without a single inch of curvature. Robotham's findings, beginning with his 1864 book, Earth Not a Globe, an experimental inquiry into the true figure of the Earth, proving it a plane without axial or orbital motion and the only material world in the universe, caused quite a stir in the scientific community, and thanks to 3 decades of his efforts and those of his colleagues in the Universal Zetetic Society, the shape of the Earth became a hot topic of debate around the turn of the 19th century.
And this is where people kind of hit the wall on the flat Earth thing. Where's the edge? Wonderful question. I've got answers. This is essentially what the shape of the flat Earth looks like. And of course, if these are the edges, your next question would be like, well, why haven't we fallen off? Well, that brings me to the ice wall. Once you got the land masses, and they're all there, they have this ice wall. And so, this is what they believe it looks like. So you got your Canada, US, Mexico, there's South America in there, and then Russia, the other big old landmass. They believe that the Antarctic surrounds the Earth.
It is a fact, not a belief, that if you travel southwards from anywhere on Earth, keeping the pole star exactly 180 degrees to your back, you will arrive in Antarctica. The vast majority of Antarctica's coastline is raised significantly above the water level, usually around 100 to 200 feet, thus why it is sometimes referred to as an ice wall.
And keeps the water in between the ice mass, just like this. Look at that. These are the principles of the Flat Earth Society. Honestly, seeing it like this, it's not so crazy.
You joke, but this model of contained, level water is actually a legitimate demonstration of our objective reality. Ball that Play-Doh up into a spherical Earth and pour that water on. Now which one is the joke? Ballers will retort that gravity magically causes water to stick to and curve around such balls, but try as they might, they cannot reproduce this claim on a scalable model, so we just have to trust them.
Ah, good people of Earth. What's your take on that debate?
I met 12 separate people that told me the same story, which is of seeing someone, apparently human, who changed into a reptilian figure in front of their eyes and then went back again. And I was turning as I was speaking. And as I turned, all I could hear was, and I turned around and she's holding her chest. She said, my God, I wasn't going to tell you about that. She said, I thought even you would think I'm crazy. And she tells me the story. She said, what happened was she went out one night and she said, I walking through the forest and she saw a light. She said, so I walked through the trees quietly and I looked through where the light was. She said, and there was this ring of people wearing robes. She said, and the person conducting the robe, conducting the ritual in his robe, was Ted Heath. She said, and standing next to him was a guy called Anthony Barber, who was Heath's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. He was Prime Minister at the time this was happening. She had this experience. And she said, I'm looking. I said, I was shocked, obviously, but I'm looking. And she said, suddenly, Heath shifted into a reptilian form and grew about 2 feet. Now, that is an absolutely common theme I've heard all over the world, that when they shift into a reptilian form, they get taller and bigger. Because that's the real entity behind the human facade, you see. What shocked me more than anything is the rest of the ring didn't react. It was like it was the most natural thing ever. It wasn't like, oh my God, what's that? No, everyone stayed calm, like, oh yeah, this is what happens.
Oh my God, that's a creepy story, man.
The main thing to, I guess, understand first and foremost about it is we all as physical beings still have a non-physical higher mind. And that's the part of us in spirit that remains there. And so the idea is that our higher mind is constantly guiding us, communicating with us. But because it's non-physical, it communicates in energy. Its messages come in a form of energy. But our physical bodies translate that energy, those messages, as the sensation we call passion, excitement, creativity, love. So when we're willing to act on things and situations, opportunities that contain more excitement than any other, we are actually following the guidance of our higher mind that's saying, this is you. This is the next step on your path. That's why it's coming to you this way. This is the move to take. This is the action to take right now. And when we do that, when we're willing to follow that guidance, then we're creating a dialogue with the higher mind. And we're responding to it. We're saying, yes, I hear you. I hear you saying this is my next step because it comes with this kind of vibration. And if we're willing to act on it, then we set up a dialogue with the higher mind. So the higher mind can say, okay, you heard me. I'm going to send you more opportunities to act on your passion. because there's no point in it sending us more opportunities to act on our passion, to follow our path, if we're not even willing to act on what it's already sent us.
Oh man, that's pretty interesting. That wonderful good vibes guy is full of interesting information. You see, thanks for watching up to this far wonderful show. You are loved and respected. Thanks also for hitting the like button and leaving some comments there. You see, that gesture is a good vibes gesture, and may the universe reward you incredibly. And God bless you. You see, keep it tuned for some 5 episodes that will be coming your way soon. A hot one, you see. Stay around, stick around, and spread love and good vibes. Bye bye. Love, peace, and good vibes. We are out.